Hello there, this is Rom Wills coming back at you with yet another podcast, Sex Workers and Lawyers. Now, I thought about this again, and this is something I talked about before. I can't remember what I called the video or something. I know I talked about it somewhere, but I got a whole bunch of new people. And I was actually reading something in one of my mentors' books. It's called Awaken the Master Masculine by Master Yao and Yamache Morris, and he had made a statement about, when you really look at relationships, if you really want to find out what's going on, talk to either a sex worker or a lawyer, particularly a family lawyer, because they get both. Because look, one of the issues out here is a lot of people full of shit. Let me say that again. A lot of people full of shit. Like, a lot of relationship discussions and what people want and what they are doing and what they think is they either lying blatantly or they in la la land. They got some wishful thinking. They hoping it'll work. Like, you got some guys hoping like their great personality, which really ain't that great, is going to get them a woman. Or you got some women out here thinking that some guy really wants to like pay all this money to sponsor them, and all they have to do to bring to the table is just themselves, and they boring as fuck anyway. It's you get a lot of people on some bullshit, and I'm gonna tell you what, and this is something I learned. Like, people might remember times I said I learned some powerful secrets from sex workers. And it's funny. Let me load up. Let me go on a tangent. People always ask me about it. And the funny thing is, a couple times when some people figured it out, they're like, oh, that can't be it. And then I say, I'm going to let people figure it out. They don't ask me anymore. Because sometimes people think some shit's so complicated. It's really some simple ass shit that they can see. So I figured people learn shit better. In fact, I've had mentors who wouldn't tell me anything and let me figure it out on my own. So I'm doing the same thing. But the thing is with sex workers and attorneys, sex workers, they don't have time to be on some fantasy shit. Now, they might provide a fantasy, but they got to see a person for what they are. Because understand something, shout out to Master Teacher BGS for his diesel model. He talked about the octanes, but he also talked about the diesels. And one thing he pointed out, and, somebody like Sinful to P or Warren B can point this out too. It's like, these women, some men, but mainly women, they looking at a man realistically. They looking at relationships realistically. They don't have time for some like Mary Poppins type of shit, some fantasy type of shit, some fairy tale. They got to see shit for what it is. They got to be able to read that person. They got to be able to see that person and see if they dangerous. And plus, a lot of times what they getting, they ain't necessarily just getting some like lonely dude who lives out of a basement. Shit, they might be dealing with somebody who got a wife and kids. They dealing with politicians. Anybody who's been around the scene in D.C. long enough know they got some prostitution rings on Capitol Hill. They seen the real thing. In fact, when you deal with politics, period, there's a sexual element with it. I ain't gonna get into that, but there's a definite sexual element, and it's really part of the game. That's why sometimes I see some people and they be trying to like poo-poo sex and shit. And I'm like, man, you get to those higher levels of power, no, your ass gonna be fucking. don't think you gonna do some like I don't want to deal with women thing and think you ain't gonna get something. They'll use it against you. Or if you might like the same sex or something, it'll still be used against you. So, you gotta play that game. But the sex worker is going to see everything. They're going to see. They will break it down. They ain't going to play around. They're going to read you up and down. They're going to look at you and say, oh, yeah, this dude will get it, or this dude wouldn't. In fact, I know there's some times where, some dating coaches get challenged. And, my thought is, well, why don't we get some sex workers to determine who's saying what, whether it's real or not. Because they're going to, like, go right into it. They don't have time. They need to get the truth. They need to see the truth. They need to get it, and they see what's up. And if you cool with one, they'll tell you what's up. If you cool. Now, if you paying them, just to be clear, because I know some people say, well, I'll get a sex worker. She'll tell you anything you want to hear. You put her some money in her pocket. She'll read you and say, oh, okay, this person wanted me to say this. So this is what I'm going to say. Only way to work with that is she just tell you freely, like, y'all cool. Because one thing about sex workers, there's always going to be some people around them that they're going to be their true selves with. But the sex workers and then the lawyers. I'm going to tell you what, with the lawyer, though people don't realize something, especially if they like a trial attorney. If they deal in the criminal justice system, like a trial attorney, like some of these overworked court-appointed attorneys and defense attorneys, they see everything. You see the worst of humanity. Like there was a time I was working out at the D.C. courthouse, and I remember I had to meet my mentor there. And I mentioned Master Yah. I remember he was doing some training for me. He was showing me some stuff. And I remember we met at the courthouse. And I'll tell you about the training in a second, but he was just looking at the people going in and out. He was like, man, there's so much dysfunction. And you're going to see some shit. If you in that area, you're going to see some shit because you're not always dealing with the most psychologically healthy people, you know. And real quick, that training was he was just taking me out in the field and training me on how to read people. You know, I already had something for it, but he was showing me a specific system. So, and some of my inner circle know about that, but that's just an aside. Oh, this is one of those times I'm just throwing out something and see who catches. But, I was talking about the attorneys. Those are just the trial attorneys, but the attorneys who really see stuff are family attorneys, divorce lawyers. In fact, I think there was one divorce lawyer. I can't think of his name right now. He actually wrote a book about it because they hear everything. And see, the thing is, it's not so much they know about how to get people together, but they sure as hell know how to get apart. And to the point, even when you're lying to one, like there's a divorce attorney that I know now. Used to we were involved like years ago, decades ago and stuff. You know, I could still talk to her. She was dropping some like serious knowledge on me about how people do, how they be lying about shit. Because one thing about attorneys, you dealing with so many people, you do got to be able to read them. You know, the attorneys got to be able to read them and know what's up. And especially, that's one of the people you need to be honest with. If you committed a crime or something, just tell the attorney. They'll get you off even if you say, oh, yeah, I killed this person. They'll get you off even if they thinking, damn, this is some scuzzy ass person. But they'll do their job if they want that money. But that's the thing. They're going to see everything. They're going to see everything. Understand something. You might have some other professions where they see everything. Bartenders, maybe any profession where they work with people, but mainly sex workers and lawyers. You know, they'll tell somebody something. They'll look at somebody, read them up and down. Only other person type of person who might be able to do that is a demon lover, but that's another conversation. And look up that video in my archives. But the sex workers and lawyers they really see the game for what it is. Because they just break it down and they see what's up. You know? Even if, I would say sometimes maybe some cops too. One of the best relationship authors I ever read was a former cop. Anybody in that position where they got to see the real deal for shit, you know? They got to see the real deal. They don't have time to play around or have a fantasy about it. So, anyway, felt like sharing that. Anyway, y'all, I'll talk to y'all later. Peace and many blessings.